Everything is ready. A small squad of American soldiers slowly creeps forward through the dense, humid jungle. The air is thick and heavy, filled with the buzzing of insects and the distant rumble of artillery. Every step is deliberate, every movement careful, as they approach a series of Japanese bunkers dug deep into the ground. Their hearts pound in unison, adrenaline surging as they grip their weapons tighter. The enemy positions are close now, hidden behind layers of camouflage and surrounded by barbed wire. The soldiers can see faint movements in the shadows, enemy eyes watching, waiting. Then a single nod from their squad leader. The signal is given. Within an instant, the silence shatters. Machine guns erupt, spraying bullets at the narrow openings of the bunkers. Mortars thunder from behind, their explosions lighting up the jungle floor. Snipers fire precisely, picking off anyone who dares to expose themselves. Smoke grenades are tossed forward, releasing thick white clouds that roll across the battlefield, blinding the enemy and covering the squad's advance. Amid this storm of chaos, one man moves ahead of the rest, the flamethrower operator. He carries a heavy tank of fuel strapped to his back, the weight pressing down like a burden of fate. Each step he takes brings him closer to danger. He knows what he carries is not just a weapon, but a death sentence. Inside the bunker, Japanese soldiers shout to one another, unaware that their doom is already creeping toward them. The operator stops just a few meters away. With shaking hands, he lowers the nozzle, aims carefully at the bunker's dark opening and squeezes the trigger. A deafening roar erupts as a jet of flame bursts forward, bright and furious. The entire bunker becomes an inferno. The fire rolls and twists, devouring everything inside. Explosions follow as stored ammunition ignites. For a moment, the ground trembles. Then after a few seconds that feel like forever, silence returns. Smoke rises slowly into the air, black and thick, carrying with it the unmistakable smell of burning. The only sound now is the crackle of dying flames. Nothing moves. Nothing survives. The operator breathes heavily, his face smeared with dirt and sweat. He's alive. This time he's one of the lucky few. Most men in his role don't live long. The average life expectancy of a flamethrower operator on the battlefield was just 4 minutes. This time fortune spared him, but the day is far from over. This was just one of countless flamethrower assaults during the Second World War. In the Pacific Theater, where Japanese forces built elaborate tunnels and bunkers, flamethrowers became one of the few effective tools to root them out. These weapons were terrifying, brutal, and deadly, yet they were necessary. Without them, many Allied soldiers would have faced nearly impossible odds. The story of these weapons is one of innovation and horror intertwined. The idea of using fire in battle is not new. It reaches back into ancient times, when warriors discovered that fire could destroy what swords could not. Among the earliest and most legendary examples was Greek fire, a mysterious liquid weapon first used by the Byzantine Empire in the 7th century. Greek fire was said to ignite upon contact with water, making it especially devastating in naval combat. Ships hit by it would burn even as they tried to douse the flames with the sea itself. The secret formula of Greek fire has been lost for centuries. Historians believe it may have included naphtha, pitch, or quicklime, but no one knows for sure. Its power was so great that even centuries later its name still evokes terror and fascination. Fire has always been a symbol of destruction and control. Yet it took until the 20th century for mankind to turn it into a weapon of precise and portable devastation. The modern flamethrower first appeared during the First World War. In 1915, German troops introduced it at the Battle of Verdun. The results were horrifying. For the first time, soldiers faced streams of liquid fire pouring into their trenches. Panic spread instantly. The weapon not only killed but broke morale. The early flamethrowers were clumsy, heavy, and extremely dangerous to the men who used them. The fuel tanks were prone to explosions if struck by a bullet. Some operators died not by enemy fire, but by their own weapon malfunctioning. There were tragic incidents, like one where 20 French soldiers died when the wind changed suddenly and blew the fire back onto them. It was a weapon of both power and risk, one that demanded courage beyond imagination. Being hit by a flamethrower was among the worst fates imaginable. The fire burned hotter than any natural flame, melting skin and consuming oxygen. Those caught in its reach died instantly, or suffered agonizing injuries. Those who lived through such attacks carried scars, both physical and psychological, for the rest of their lives. The burns never fully healed, and the memories of being surrounded by flames haunted them forever. The fire didn't just kill, it suffocated. Inside bunkers, the flames consumed the air, leaving those trapped inside gasping for breath before the heat reached them. Even soldiers who managed to escape the direct flames were not safe. The smoke was filled with carbon monoxide and toxic fumes that could silently kill anyone nearby. Many collapsed without warning, overcome by invisible poison. As warfare evolved, so did the weapon. Between World War I and World War II, engineers improved its design. The bulky two-man flamethrowers of the First World War gave way to smaller, more efficient models operated by a single soldier. The Germans developed the Flammenwerfer 35, while the Americans produced the M1 and later the M2. These new versions were lighter, had greater range, and were easier to control. By World War II, the flamethrower had become one of the most feared weapons on the battlefield. In the jungles of the Pacific, it proved devastatingly effective. The Japanese soldiers, known for their fierce determination and refusal to surrender, built complex networks of caves and underground bunkers that were nearly impossible to capture through conventional means. Grenades and bullets were useless against enemies hidden deep inside rock tunnels. Only fire could reach them. The flamethrower turned those dark hiding places into death traps. One burst of flame, lasting only seconds, could wipe out an entire bunker. Yet for the men operating these weapons, each mission felt like a death march. They were prime targets for snipers. Their tanks of fuel made them walking explosives. The moment a flamethrower was seen, every enemy rifle turned toward it. The operators depended on their comrades to provide cover, praying that they would survive long enough to complete their task. On the island of Iwo Jima, the danger became clear. Flamethrower units suffered a 92% casualty rate, nearly total loss. The Japanese viewed them as symbols of cruelty and destruction, and captured operators faced the most brutal fates imaginable. One story from Iwo Jima tells of an operator who advanced on a cave only for his weapon to malfunction at the critical moment. He was captured immediately. For 2 days, his comrades could hear the sounds of what the Japanese soldiers did to him. His screams echoed through the rocks, a grim reminder of the cost of war. The American M2 flamethrower was the result of years of development. Fully loaded, it weighed about 70 pounds. The fuel tanks held a thickened mixture of gasoline and napalm, while a separate tank contained compressed nitrogen gas that forced the fuel out. The operator carried a wand-like nozzle with a trigger mechanism. Pulling it released a pressurized stream of fuel that ignited at the tip, creating a jet of fire that could reach up to 40 yards. Each burst lasted only 7 to 10 seconds, but that was long enough to destroy an enemy stronghold. It took strength, skill, and courage to use the M2. The operator was not only fighting the enemy, but also battling exhaustion, fear, and the knowledge that any wrong move could be his last. To improve safety, the U.S. Army began to mount flamethrowers on armored vehicles. This innovation revolutionized the weapon's use. Tanks could now unleash fire while staying protected behind armor. The M4 Sherman was adapted into a flamethrower tank, its main cannon replaced with a powerful flame projector. Inside, the crew was shielded from bullets, and the tank could move steadily through enemy defenses, turning bunkers and trenches into blazing ruins. Later models, known as Zippo tanks, were introduced during the Vietnam War. They carried larger fuel reserves, allowing them to sustain fire for longer periods. Their name came from the famous lighter brand, symbolizing their destructive capability. But even these armored machines were vulnerable. The enemy targeted them with mines, grenades, and anti-tank weapons. Every mission required precise coordination with infantry and artillery to ensure success and survival. Despite their efficiency, flamethrowers remained controversial. Many questioned whether such weapons were humane. Some argued that the intense heat caused almost immediate unconsciousness, sparing victims prolonged pain. Others believed the horror they inflicted was beyond justification. The sight of a man consumed by fire left a mark not only on those who died, but on those who witnessed it. As the world reflected on the destruction of war, moral debates grew louder. In 1980, an international agreement was signed to restrict weapons that caused unnecessary suffering. Flamethrowers were not banned outright, but their use was discouraged and eventually faded from modern military strategy. Today, flamethrowers are rare. Some armies still keep them stored, but they are seldom seen in combat. Their era has ended, yet their memory remains. They symbolize both human ingenuity and the capacity for destruction. They remind us of the extreme lengths mankind will go to in pursuit of victory. The story of the flamethrower is not just about a weapon, it is about the men who carried it, the fear it inspired, and the moral questions it left behind. It represents the terrifying balance between survival and humanity, where a soldier had to decide between his life and the life of his enemy. The flamethrower was a weapon that burned everything in its path, not only the landscape of war, but also the conscience of mankind. Even today, long after the flames have died out, their glow can still be seen flickering through the history of human conflict. War leaves behind more than ruins and ashes. It leaves behind questions that echo through time, about courage, morality, and the choices men make when survival hangs by a thread. The flamethrower may no longer light the battlefield, but its story still burns in history as a reminder of both the power and the cost of human invention. Every spark of progress carries a shadow, and every victory comes with a price. As we look back, we see not just the fire that consumed the enemy, but the fire that tested humanity itself. This was not only the story of a weapon, but the story of men who faced fear in its purest form. Their courage, their pain, and their legacy remind us that war is never just about winning. It's about what we lose along the way. If you found this journey through history thought-provoking, remember there are countless more untold stories waiting to be discovered. Stay with us as we continue to uncover the hidden truths behind the battles that shaped our world. This is Real Eye, where every story reveals a deeper truth.